In the history of media, every once in a while, there are characters who are created that transcend space and time that they were originally created in. Characters whose impact is so vast that they seem to never go away. Good or bad, they still stick around in the cultural zeitgeist. Some of these characters may not even be around anymore in terms of still having an ongoing TV show, movie, or book series, but will still be mentioned as an influence of some sort. I'd argue those characters are the lucky ones. Ones whose stories are already being done told, but not done being examined or explored. Then there are those characters in the mainstream media whose fate isn't so lucky. The ones cannot or will not go away due to corporate greed. The milking of the cash cow, the golden goose character. Many comic book superheroes fall into this second category. The biggest complaint I've seen about superhero comics is that they don't end. The superhero story will either just recycle themselves or a new story arc will dismantle what happened in those previous and so forth. The two biggest superhero characters to be bastardized the most are Spider-Man and Batman. Two characters in any given year, mainly depending on who has the biggest blockbuster film, can be the most popular comic book character of that year. Batman and Spider-Man are the pinnacle of what an intellectual property can do. The Spider-Man and Batman IPs are worth over $28 billion each. Movies, shows, clothes, toiletries, video games, and so much more. But what about the source material? What about the comics? Both of these characters have had hundreds of comics brought to print since inception. Some are good, some are okay, and some are just plain ass. All have contributed to feeding the beast of the Spider-Man and Batman IPs. Within the last year, both of these characters have had some transformative series come out. One being the Ultimate Spider-Man series, which is a follow-up to the early 2000s Ultimate Spider-Man comic from Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. I can't give you a true critique of this new run because I haven't read it. I still need to read the original Bendis run. The second radical comic to come out this past year was Absolute Batman. This series is the most important comic to come out within the last 5 years. Absolute Batman is changing the trajectory of comics. Absolute Batman is a superhero comic book series published by DC Comics based on the character Batman. The series is written by Scott Snyder and illustrated by Nick Dragotta and began publication on October 9th, 2024 as the first title in the DC Absolute Universe imprint. Scott Snyder is a highly touted comic book writer best known for his former Batman works, and Nick Dragotta is a comic book artist vet best known for the series East of West, a science fiction western comic from Image Comics with writer Jonathan Hickman. In this run, Batman is less wealthy, more resourceful engineer who became Batman after his teacher father was killed at the zoo by the Black Mask Gang. Bruce in this timeline isn't a rich playboy billionaire, he's just a regular guy. Outside of all, the Batman stuff. Bruce still has his mother, and in this series, his rogue gallery are all of his friends. Well, they're still his friends as of now. Plus, Alfred is a secret agent, not a butler, who was sent to watch and examine Bruce, then eventually begins to help him in his Batman adventures. The poor Bruce Wayne is not a new concept. Darren Aronofsky, the director of films such as Black Swan, Requiem for a Dream, and most recently Caught Stealing, was at one point in talks to direct and write a new Batman film after the failures of the Batman and Robin movie. Darren Aronofsky was attached to direct the film and co-write a script with comic book legend Frank Miller. The film would have been a hard reboot and a particularly dark one at that, with Aronofsky wanting a harsh, rated R take on Batman that included brutal violence and overt sexual themes. The film would have done away with Wayne Fortune and left Bruce living on the streets after the deaths of his parents. He'd be taken in by a new take on Alfred, reimagined as a black auto mechanic who'd help him construct more realistic takes on the Batmobile and in a Batcave that was just an abandoned subway station under the old Wayne Manor. This concept was scrapped, and we ended up getting the Christopher Nolan series instead.
I'm Batman.
I'm not sure if Scott Snyder took inspiration from this film script or not, but it's pretty interesting to see how the universe works. This Absolute Batman series doesn't seem to have a no-kill rule. Many of the villains Batman's faced so far, he has brutally beaten with no second thought or has had his ass brutally beaten instead. One staple that remains in this Batman series is a trope of Batman having his bat gear. Batman's Batmobile is this huge hulking Tonka truck. His ears on his cowl are daggers. He has spikes that pop out of the lower half of his cowl and his shoulder pads. His cape is designed to actually look like bat wings and move in such ways. Best of all, the bat symbol on his chest seconds as a fucking axe. Holy shit. When I first saw this in issue 1, I was floored. As of recording, the series is on issue 12, having multiple reprints done on each issue. Issue number 1 is on its 8th reprint. Each subsequent issue has multiple reprints as well. Every time an issue drops, it is the bestseller of that week, which is no surprise. Seeing what Scott and Nick are doing with this comic is something the industry hasn't seen before and should really be paying attention to. No, it's not the redesigning or retelling of Batman, something that's been done hundreds of times before. What the creators of the series are doing is is taking advantage of the attention economy of today's media landscape. First off, before the comic dropped at San Diego Comic-Con 2024, the creators were giving out an ashcan version of the comic. An ashcan is a preview copy of a comic. It's usually smaller than the size of an actual comic. The ashcan is usually a lower quality and unfinished version of the comic. In this ashcan of Absolute Batman, there were a few pages from issue 1 alongside some of Nature Goddess character designs of this new Batman. These pages got leaked on Twitter and everyone went bonkers over this hulking and brutish design of this new Batman. There were videos, articles, TikToks, and Twitter threads made about this new Batman. Some people loved this design, thought it looked fresh and interesting. I love the more manga look of this new Batman comic. Others, though, hated it. One big point of contention was the huge bat symbol on the chest, which resembled less of a bat and more of a badass fucking axe. You fucking quick to judge, Twitter weirdos. You can't judge a book by its cover or a comic book ashcan. Fucking serious. Anyways, this attention, whether good or bad, was something that Scott and Dragotta accounted for and embraced. They didn't troll back or talk shit to their fans. They just kept doing their own thing, letting the work speak for itself. It now seems to be a more calculated move by the team to post these new designs well before these characters appear in a comic. Every time this is done, these designs get a mix of enthusiasm, hate, and interest all at once. It ultimately leads to attention, then most importantly, equates to sales. When the new Bane design was posted online, the co-creator Graham Nolan was appalled by this new monstrous design of Bane, which is no surprise coming from someone who is Comicsgate. Like, that's a real thing anymore. A similar thing is happening now with the new Catwoman design, as well as the arrival of this new Joker monster thing, again creating hype, hate, and attention for this comic. Another underrated thing Scott Snyder did before the launch of Absolute Batman was going on every comic book YouTube channel and podcast possible to hype the comic as well. This taking advantage of the attention economy isn't nothing new in comics, but it's rarely done right. A great example to take a look at for using publicity, whether it's good or bad, is taking a look at the legendary career of Todd McFarlane, a person who mastered marketing. McFarlane used many different tactics in order to keep his comics Spawn and the McFarlane brand in pop culture relevancy. Outside of the Spawn movie, show, and Todd toys, McFarlane did some more unique types of marketing. First was buying the Jerry Maguire $3 million baseball, which gave him tons of press and helped him land a toy deal with the MLB. It also influenced Neil Gaiman to sue him. Todd also had a dual painted Spawnmobile he would take from convention to convention and get people to vote on which side of the car's paint job he should paint the entire vehicle. Something Todd actually never planned on doing, but just wanted to get the Spawn logo ingrained in as many people's minds as possible. Lastly, Todd took advantage of controversies concerning his comic. Spawn issue number 30 came under fire for the depiction of Al Simmons' Spawn hanging from a noose and a tree on the cover, as well as in the comic, Al Simmons fighting against the Ku Klux Klan. The comic got news coverage as well as some parents wanting the comic to be taken off the stands. I don't think Todd planned for this to happen, but took full advantage of this free press, even at the time doing interviews about this controversy.
Comic book today has some moms and dads really fumed. It's called Spawn. The subjects are anything from sexism to racism, and most disturbing, it's the #1 bestseller.
I do not want children reading this garbage. To me, it's garbage.
Now, the creator of the imaginary crusader with violent ways is telling his critics, get real.
I think moms and dads are just a little overprotective at times.
To this day, you'll see Todd doing interviews here and there, podcasts, live streams, Instagram reels, and so forth. He's staying tapped in, a real showsman and salesman, something Scott Snyder is doing right now, which I believe is one of the many factors that is helping keep Absolute Batman the best-selling comic right now. Some examples from manga that got bolstered up from the online attention economy were series like Drama Queen and Kurabachi. Drama Queen got tons of backlash for its alt-right, anti-immigrant messaging in the first chapter of this series, which had the internet talking, leading to the first chapter becoming one of the most popular manga on the Shonen Jump Plus app at the time. I did a video deep dive on this manga, go check it out. Kurabachi was literally memed into popularity. This damn manga went viral before the first chapter dropped. Twitter users and manga fans thought it was a blatant ripoff of Boruto and was going to fail immediately. The internet buzz around this manga was so large that once the first chapter dropped, tons of people read it and actually liked it. Now Kurabachi is getting an anime adaptation. Funny enough, Scott Snyder and DC Comics actually stole this playbook from a small imprint, Skybound Entertainment. Skybound Entertainment is a multiple platform entertainment company founded by Robert Kirkman and David Alpert in 2010. The company dabbles in a bit of everything from video games, animation, movies, and comic books. Skybound is a popular imprint under Image Comics. Some of their best known comic book works are Invincible and The Walking Dead. Now let's go back to 2023. Leading up to that year's San Diego Comic-Con, the word around town was Skybound Entertainment's acquisition of the Hasbro's IPs, the biggest being Transformers and G.I. Joe. At the Comic-Con that year, the hottest item there was the ash can of the Transformers #1, written and drawn by rising star, soon-to-be GOAT, comic book artist Daniel Warren Johnson. Check out my video on him. Later that fall, Transformers #1 dropped, becoming the best-selling comic of that year. Issue #1 is well over 10 reprints. Interesting to see that 1 year later, DC Comics and Scott Snyder followed the same method. Word for word, bar for bar.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
DC Comics also copied Skybound with their release of Battle Beast, which had blind bags for issue #1, releasing again with another Batman title. A blind bag is a sealed, opaque packaging containing a comic book where the specific variant cover or contents are a mystery until you open it. The concept, also known as a mystery bag, is an increasingly popular trend in comic book collecting, borrowed from the surprise method used for toys and collectible cards. Battle Beast brought this concept back, a gimmick that was started in the 80s, which I believe helped a lot with the comic getting almost 500,000 sales with Battle Beast issue #1. This success had a lot of mimics, one including DC Comics with the release of a rebooted Batman comic from Matt Fraction and George Jimenez. That comic benefited from that gimmick as well, selling over 500,000 copies with its first issue. Interesting how DC is stealing from Skybound. Furthermore, what can we learn from this? What can the industry learn from what Snyder and Dragotta are doing with this Absolute Batman series? First, this is marketing. A lot of comic book creators from indie to the mainstream tend to not want to market or hard sell their comics. Personally, I think that's moronic. If you're proud of something you're doing and you want people to see it or read it, you need to tell them or show them.
I've never been shy about trying to shill or promote stuff that I'm really proud of, you know, and it's okay if like I'm the butt of the joke if the book does well. You know,
there is no world where people are just going to magically appear, read your comic, and become stans. Scott Snyder is one of the most popular comic book writers out now, especially as a Batman writer of the last 10 years. If he can go out of his way to hop on a podcast, start a YouTube channel, run a Substack, and so forth, so can you. Another thing we can learn is actually being part of the online comic book community in a productive and positive way, while also staying true to your vision. Going on to many comic book shows for a mainstream artist and writer, I believe, is important, not only because it helps promote your comic, but it also brings eyes to these platforms that are way more important than you think. The reason anime and manga is so prevalent in the West is because there are so many channels dedicated to talking about anime and manga in a positive and or productive way, focusing on the actual show and comics, not the people behind them or the industry. Whereas here in America, it's all reversed. All the popular comic book channels are gossip, rage baiting channels, or should I say all the loud channels are the rage baiting gossip channels. Whereas all the ones who actually focus on comics do not seem to get as much love. So seeing these comic book creators actually hit up and get on those important good faith actual comic book fan ran channels is great. I've also seen an uptick in young people making comic book related channels and are doing great numbers. Hopefully this trend continues. Doubling down on your project is important. The fact that the Absolute Batman team has turned the hate campaigns of their new character designs into a monthly event is phenomenal free marketing. Not letting the haters get to you is another important thing that they've done. Even though Batman is a legacy IP, it has decades of nostalgia armor and corporate backing to keep it from failing. This doesn't mean other creators in comics can't take what this creative team is doing and apply it to their own work. Get involved in the positive comic book community. Believe in your comics and not letting anyone push you off your square and so forth. I believe we are or can be in a new resurgence in comics. There are so many different avenues you can take to be successful. We're seeing the big two literally steal from smaller publishers and maximizing off of it. So why can't we do the same? Appreciate everybody for watching this video to the end. My final thoughts on this is just that Absolute Batman is something that I don't think I've seen before personally in the last 5 years once I got back into, following comics hard like I did back in middle school. So it's really interesting to see the way trajectory of Absolute Batman and the whole Absolute universe is going. I don't see it really wavering as of now. Honestly, I think Absolute Batman is going to set the trend for Batman as a whole in the next couple years. I wouldn't be surprised in the next 5 years there is a animated Absolute Batman movie or show. And then with the next 10 to 15 years is going to be an absolute Batman themed or inspired live action movie. Again, I mean, there was already talks of of a Batman that was similar to this from the Darren Aronofsky script that was floating around online and whatnot back in the early 2000s. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hollywood takes a swing, especially since the proof of concept has already been proven, you know. I'm not a huge superhero fan, so it was a big swing for me to pick up this Batman stuff and even all the other absolute stuff that I've been reading. So you got to meet Scott Snyder about a year or two ago. I honestly never read any of his work. I just knew he was kind of popular. So I went to the dollar bin and I found a couple of the New 52 Batman books he worked on and just got him signed just for the hell of it. But I mean, he's a cool guy. And I've seen some of his videos online of him talking about writing and stuff. So he knows what he's talking about. But I think the biggest takeaway from looking at this Batman stuff and the absolute line is what independent creators and smaller creators can take from it. And if you're really paying attention, it really will help an uptick on what you can do. I know myself as an independent creator, marketing is a big thing that I've pushed myself to learn. That's the reason I made this channel. That's the reason I made my second channel. That's the reason I do a lot of the things outside of just drawing and writing comics in order to get eyes on my comics. Believe it or not, I've sold pretty well on some comics. In the last 2 years, I did a Kickstarter, which is something was like a big goal of mine. And I was able to, fund that. And I didn't do like crazy numbers, but I did enough to fund the book, If we like independent creators or smaller creators pay attention to what the bigger guys are doing and then, take a little piece of that and then add it to your own repertoire, it could save you a lot of time and effort in the long run. That's just me. Obviously, you do what you want. If you're a comic book creator, have fun. That's just something that I like to perceive and pick at, because I mean, even DC is stealing from a smaller publisher. They say like in the NBA, it's a copycat league. Once Steph Curry started shooting threes, everybody's wanted to start shooting threes. Once the big man comes back into prominence, everybody wants to get the biggest man they can on defense or whatever. Comic book industry is essentially the same, right? Once everybody started dropping number ones or relaunching or doing crossover events, all the other publishers were doing the same. So I think Absolute Batman and what Skybound and other publishers are doing are something that we should take from and do it at our own pace and in our own way. Go check out my second channel. I recently dropped a video on my recommendations of some comics that I've been reading the last couple of months. So if you want to get a feel for my taste of books that I've been reading, go check out that. Go subscribe to my second channel. I also do like live streams every week or every other week where I get guests on and we draw and talk about whatever project or comics that they've been working on. Subscribe to my Patreon. This video was actually uploaded on my Patreon a few days early. So if you guys subscribe to my Patreon, you'll get early posts of videos. You'll get tutorial videos that I have on there. You'll get my weekly pickups. I post that on there. It's only $5 to get all access to everything. Even if you are just a free member, you can get access to most things except for like the video content, and there's a little bit of stuff behind the paywall. I am a comic book creator myself. Click the links in my bio to go to my web store and check out some of my comics. My new comic AWOL issue number 1 and issue number 2 are on my web store, so go pick them up if you feel so inclined. Issue number 3 is damn near done, so I'll probably roll that out sometime within the next couple months or so. Again, I appreciate you guys for watching the video to the end. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.